everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish It on the Movies. And today we are...
Is it working, Safi?
I don't know.
Are you pretending like you're confronting her?
Marco. Anyway, we are doing a review of a show that was on in the middle of the X-Files and the seasons of the later seasons.
Between 8 and 9. And
Okay.
to me, it kind of felt like an apology for the last couple of seasons being so bad.
Of the X-Files.
Almost like, these last few seasons have been bad, but here's a little treat. And also, please let us keep on doing this and end the X-Files forever. Because we'd much rather be doing this fun show with a better cast, a fuller cast. The thing about X-Files is that all they had was Scully and Mulder and Skinner. But he wasn't a great character because he was too much.
Well, they didn't give him much to do.
Yeah, they did not write him to where he was a full character, unfortunately, even though he's a great actor. And then the villain was the smoking man. He's gone. So it's like all there is like Scully and Terminator guy and that boring ass Hispanic woman. What was her name? Like
I don't
fucking Rosalios or something.
No.
What's her name?
I don't remember. It's been a while since we've watched it. I don't remember her name. I don't remember.
Scully Jr. Like she was trash. Reyes.
Oh.
It's like, that's not a great cast, okay? It's not a great cast for a show. Meanwhile, you have the Lone Gunmen,
which is what we're talking about today.
Which has Byers,
Frohickey,
Langley, Jimmy Bond, and Eve Del Harlow. That is what we call a fantastic cast. That's what I would call an ensemble worth a series and worth multiple Emmys.
And apparently, I watched kind of like a summary of the people who made the show. They made a summary of what the show was. And there were a few surprises that were totally unexpected. One was an ugly surprise, but the writers, apparently, of the X-Files loved this show. They loved the characters. And you could tell that because they really thought out the entire show. It had a very great balance of humor and suspense and mystery and, highs and lows and, seriousness. It was all a really good balance, and that's why it was good. And they didn't seem to have they never had a really big, visiting cast. But the guy who played, on Better Call Saul, who played the brother of Saul, I can't think of his name.
Chuck.
Well, that's his name in Better Call Saul. He was in a few of the episodes, and
he was in one episode, and the great thing was that the X-Files had the smoking man, and it seemed like on this show they were going to have him be the main villain. And I thought, wow, that's a fantastic idea.
And he loved being there too. He loved the show. He said he said exactly what we're saying. He thought it was a great cast, great balance. And the reason why I just emphasizing these traits was, number one, they only got one season.
Yeah, one measly season. Not even a full season. Only 13 episodes.
And
they really got... And then the pilot. The pilot was the pilot. They didn't get to go back and reshoot it and fix their mistakes. which a lot of the times with TV shows is that they'll film a pilot and then they'll go film the pilot again using the notes the studio gave them, and the network gave them.
And, well, I just say this, emphasize these things because we have been reviewing Better Call Saul, which is a present-day show, and it's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
And if they had all of these things that this little show that was only one season, it would have been so much better. Because right now, it sucks.
Yeah.
And this show, I could watch this show, some of the episodes in it, several times and not be tired of it and like it and want to watch it again because they were so good. Whereas in this show, Better Call Saul, at least for this season, I don't know if I want to watch any of the episodes ever again.
I watched season 4 again so that I could review it, because I reviewed all the seasons and I'm ranking all the episodes, and it was painful to watch season 4 again because so many episodes were just dull and boring and nothing happened in them. And just thinking about the Lone Gunmen, there's not really a dull moment the whole season. I mean, there's episodes that aren't as good as others, but the whole show is just perfection. It's like this show should have gone on for a long time, and it should have been like a real show. Like, we'd never even heard of this show.
And I was around.
I
had never heard of it.
Wait a second.
I don't know what happened.
They had a series? Like, they got what they deserved? They finally... Because in the X-Files, it was really weird. They got introduced, and it seemed like they're pretty important characters. Like, they solve a lot of issues for the X-Files group.
And in real terms, too, they would be called in to just be there for one day. And then they go for a while, and then they get another call to come in for one day. Then they decided later that they thought, we might give them a show, like an episode, all to themselves. Because it was when Mulder and, what's her name, were doing their movie. And they didn't have enough time to do their series. So they were kind of like trying to fill it up, the time.
And honestly, they should have had like half the season be the Lone Gunmen, like just them, so that they could have gotten rid of some of the bad episodes.
Yeah, because some of those episodes, while they weren't able to do much, were not good. So, yeah. And these guys they were more than willing to do anything.
I know.
And they had a very good attitude. That's another thing. I mean, just everybody had such a good attitude, and they were all like ready to go and wanting to work. But to see that the difference is the writers like them too.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going on in Better Call Saul, but it's like the writers don't like Jiminy Cricket, Jimmy, and they want him to go away.
Well, they don't like him because they don't like the fact that people have latched on to him, which is their problem, because if they hadn't rushed through the series, then they could have had a proper story happen where he goes from really cool to really gross and evil. And instead, they just jumped right to that at the end of the series. And so what did they get? People still really like him and want him to succeed. And honestly, these characters, they really deserve better. Because as I was trying to say, they did a lot, they helped a lot with the X-Files. They would come in and basically save them all the time and do anything they needed to do.
Yeah.
They even came in the movie. They even appeared in the movie, and Mulder was like, guys, can you help me? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then they helped him there too. It's like whenever the X-Files ever needed help, the Lone Gunmen were always there. And none of them ever got killed either. Like, you just think about how throughout the whole series, Mulder's mom dies, Mulder's father dies, his sister's taken. Oh, who knows whatever happened to Mulder's sister? Whoa! And Scully's sister dies, Scully's mother dies, Scully's father died, Scully's fucking daughter died because Scully killed her because she's a sociopathic child killer. Like, all their families just die over and over again. And meanwhile, you got the Lone Gunmen. Not only are they just solving all their problems for them, but they also publish a conspiracy magazine where
They call themselves investigative journalists, and they always go after misdeeds that they believe the government has committed.
They expose people, and basically the only thing you could say is that they can't kill them because they're too scared that, like, it'll look bad. But nowadays, like in real life, it doesn't seem like they care because they killed Epstein, and they said, oh, he committed suicide.
Yeah, right. I don't think anybody, I don't care what they believe, believes that. Whether they're right or left or in the middle.
There's a lot of cases like that throughout history. You look at the Boston Strangler, right? When he was going to have a major confession, he got killed in the infirmary. And of course, nobody ever knew who did that. And, that happens all the time. But these Lone Gunmen, they're just so badass that they're, like, untouchable. And they're so cool. And so it was such a great thing to find out that they had a series.
Yeah, and we've enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
And it's sad because they didn't get more than one season.
Yeah, they should have become a famous show. Like, everyone's discovering that show now, and they're saying, wow, this is a really good show.
Yeah, they are. I've seen all kinds of comments, and
yeah.
It's sad.
I know.
And they even, I don't want to give anything away, but they just end the season. It was episode 13.
On a cliffhanger. That was another thing. So they got canceled on a cliffhanger.
And I think what happened was in the next season.
Yeah, they will conclude it.
In the X-Files, they will conclude their whatever you call it, their season, their series. It'll happen in the X-Files instead of in the context of the show. This being like number 14 or whatever.
Yeah, the episode will be called Jump the Shark.
Yeah.
Which I think is a reference to the network jumping the shark by canceling their show for no reason.
And they even alluded, and they didn't want to say much, and I think that has something to do with legal issues or just the fact that ever wanting to work again with that network, or maybe even with others, that you don't want to say too many negative things, but it sounds like they had a big to-do, a negative little to-do with the network about canceling the series.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I don't blame them. They shouldn't have been canceled at all.
But they didn't give any details, and I think it has to do with just the fact that, you're a network, you have more power than them, and they, could just cancel you out, and you could yell and you could complain.
Safi, speak up.
You could yell and you could complain, and
nobody can hear you.
But it wouldn't matter. So, anyway, and the Lone Gunmen refers to Lee Harvey Oswald in the conspiracy theory that he was not.
Well, it's a
gunman.
conspiracy fact. It's not a theory, it's a fact.
Well, whatever.
And
But
so
that's-
it's like a joke because it's the Lone Gunmen, and they're not alone. And
Right.
so it's like a joke on that, since he was not alone either.
Right.
And he probably didn't even have anything to do with it. But anyway, this series started off, and immediately the network sabotaged it because Safi never even heard of it, and nobody else did either. So the network obviously didn't advertise it properly.
No, I don't think so, because, you know, I did watch some TV back then, more than what I do now. And the only reason I watch the TV that I do is to review shows that, like cooking, like Master Chef and Better Call Saul.
The old man.
And the Tony Hillerman series, because
With
I've
the
read
swimming.
because I've read all the books. But other than that, I watch YouTube. Personally, I don't watch TV, so I have to listen to it constantly. Go beyond, and I don't like what I hear. It sounds boring. I rarely hear anything that I'd want to watch.
Safi, you used to watch X-Files every week.
Well, yeah, I did. I said I watched.
You have a magazine. You sold it. You have a comic. You might
I
have
have two
sold that
comics.
too.
No, I haven't sold them yet. I haven't listed. I haven't listed both. I only have one.
You were an authentic X-Files fan.
Yeah, I know that. I just said
And
that. I
so
watched
how
some,
the hell did you not know this series existed? That's the point.
I don't know.
All X-Files fans should have known this existed, just like Breaking Bad fans. All of them knew that Better Call Saul existed. All of them knew. Like, I found out they were making Better Call Saul like 2 weeks after Breaking Bad ended.
Well, we were all hoping that they would make some kind of a show about Saul, because everybody loved the character, because he was funny and he was unusual and
He was
quirky,
cool.
and he wasn't so focused on being a bad boy and selling drugs and all this drug stuff and killing and robbing. Not that he didn't rob in a certain way by being a lawyer and taking money from criminals who got their money in a bad way, but still he wasn't so, he just wasn't so dirty or something. I don't know. He's just funny.
But he was the same. He was the same as the Lone Gunmen, where he would come in handy really fast. Like, he would come in, help Walter and Jesse, and leave.
Yeah. And Mike. Right?
Mike?
Yeah?
No?
No? Well, Mike called on him, though, right?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. It was really weird. Well, we won't talk about that anymore because we're talking about the Lone Gunmen. But he was a great character, and he was a side character. And this felt like a similar thing where it was a different show in tone and style, and it was shining a light on a different set of characters and their story. And so this was the Better Call Saul of the X-Files. And honestly, this show is better than Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
The only thing that it's missing is a couple little bit more dramatic moments, which I'm sure they could have had.
And they probably
over
would have
time.
done it. Yeah, if they had more time.
Yeah, because they had, when they had their first solo episode on the X-Files, they had some dramatic moments. Like, remember when, with Byers and that blonde girl,
Mm-hmm.
their scenes together,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So they were really good. And this show started off though very, very badly.
Yeah, the pilot for this, in fact,
Oh.
we ranked all the episodes. We were pretty much in agreement with actually how everything ramped up, and the pilot was the worst episode of the whole series.
Yeah.
It was like, let's say you had stayed up all night and then you needed to go to sleep. And it was like turning on a loud radio and putting it by your ear while you were trying to go to sleep. It was just awful noise.
Ugh.
They had music for every minute of the show.
Yeah, like they never stopped in the pilot. There was like non-stop generic 2000s music.
And it would speed up really quickly. It'd be real raucous, noisy.
Ruckus.
No, raucous. It
Ruckus.
would be. That's a different word. It would just be really awful and annoying. It would be like getting. They talk about nails scratching a chalkboard, or like you get a nail and you would drag it across a chalkboard, and it makes an ugly, noisy sound. That's what it was like. I mean, you're talking to somebody who was in an orchestra and another person who was in a band. So, I mean, we kind of know what it's like to have a good sound. And that's probably why it's more important to us than we admit to, because we both were brought up.
Well, no, it's just because the episode's annoying. Like, it's that simple.
Well, yeah, it was just annoying.
The entire time, it's like, da, 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 da. And meanwhile, the character's like, okay, so where do we go from here? Well, we go there. And it's like, this is very annoying.
And they almost drowned out the characters.
Yeah.
The music did. That's how, and so it was just, I thought, oh my God, what happened? Because in the X-Files, when they called on these characters, it wasn't like that at all.
No.
And so we're like, what the hell happened? Why are they playing all this ugly music? And why all the time? I mean, they can illustrate some of the moments with some music, but they don't need to play it non-stop. And they would, like, for every little action, it was like, let's say you have a 10-paragraph story, and that's what the pilot was. So for every paragraph, there was a different piece of music. And, like, the first part of the first paragraph was a certain kind, and it ended up with that same kind. And all the middle, though, every single one had to have music. And that's what the pilot was like. And it was so ugly, I could hardly even remember what it was about because I couldn't stand watching it.
Well, I can.
And I was thinking, my God, this is what this whole series is going to be like? No wonder it got canceled.
We got really turned off of watching it. It took us, because we were supposed to be on a schedule watching an episode a day. And
we were just like, no.
Yeah, it took us like an entire week to watch another episode. It took me a week, and I watched 2 more episodes, and I had to persuade Safi to continue watching, because I said, the show completely turns around in episode 2. It's like a different show entirely.
Yeah. When it gets to episode 2, it completely turns around. It gets better and better and better.
But we're still on the pilot. The pilot, the first thing is that it doesn't feel like a pilot. It feels like,
I don't know what it feels like.
You're supposed to already know these characters, and you're supposed to already be invested. And I'm sorry, excuse me, but when you make any TV show, it doesn't matter if it's a spin-off or a prequel or a sequel, there has to be a good foundation for you to care about the characters. And there was no foundation whatsoever for these characters. In fact, in the opening scene, they just jump right into the stupid heist thing where, remember that, where Langley pretends that he has an allergic reaction, and that software company, and then Frohicke's doing like the Mission Impossible parody.
Oh, yeah.
And then Eve comes in and kisses him, and
Because she's dressed up like a man.
She steals the whatever, and that whole sequence was just straight up like out of a cartoon. I thought, is this a Lone Gunmen cartoon? and I was really disappointed.
I was too.
And Eve, in the first episode, they had this new female character, and Safi, what do you think? How would you rate her on a scale of 1 to 10?
I don't know. I just didn't understand where she came from.
Well, let's see that. But how would you rate her on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well,
give her a rating.
I don't know. I'll just give her a C, a 5.
God,
she's
Safi.
a very pretty girl, and she's really smart and she's cool. But she's, I'm like, where'd she come from and what does she want?
Well,
what's she doing there?
It starts off though, and it's like they made her the most unlikable character in the entire series, X-Files, Lone Gunmen combined. That's how bad she was in the first episode, to the point of where she was literally going to let 9/11 happen because she didn't get something herself.
Yeah, she was constantly taking.
Yeah. Take.
Taking money, taking anything. It was like she was a thief. That's why it's like I never could figure out I even to the very end, I didn't really understand what she was ever doing there.
She's a great character to interact with them, though.
Well, yeah, she would help them when they needed help. She had a few ends that they didn't have.
It's just unfortunate that they never really got to have her establish like a relationship with them to where you'd understand why she's with them.
Yeah.
Like in Monk, you had the first episode with his shitty ass nurse who quit in season 3. And you really understood why she was doing it. And they even had a part where, like, she's begged to do it by the police captain. And so she has motivation to do it. And she has, like, she's getting paid to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Eve doesn't have any motivation except for, I guess, a couple of little personal favors here and there. But I'll never forget that first episode. She's like at the shooting range, and she's like shooting 2 Uzis at targets, and it's like, this is just like queer. It's like, this is so early 2000s, the way that this whole sequence is like. But still, I was like, I hope she gets better, and she did.
Yeah.
Immediately in episode 2, they made her a lot better. You know, she was not going to let 9/11 happen in episode 2.
Yeah, that was, we really do have to explain what that's all about, because that was bizarre. And they also thought it was bizarre. And what happened was, I guess I don't know what the name of the show is, not the episode. Marco can probably say what
The
it
pilot.
is. It was the pilot that they did that?
Yeah. Remember?
Oh, no.
Because she was going to let it happen, and because they weren't giving her anything. And she's like, who cares?
Well, they taught, like I said, I watched this video, and it was kind of like a summation of the series, like reflections. They gave some information about some of the things that happened and how they made the effects, and the actors, about what they felt. And they thought of something where a plane would fly into the Twin Towers in New York City. But guess what? This happened. They talked about this and developed it before 9/11.
What's really weird is that not only that, so this came out before 9/11, and it was made. It was shot a long time before, too.
Yeah.
A longer time, so...
And what they did was
what happened is that Byers' father is supposedly killed. And then it turns out that he faked his own death by using like a remote control powered car mechanism. And it's really too bad because it was a good idea to like have a story about Byers and his father,
Yeah.
and to have a good foundation, but it just none of it worked. It was so terrible. And so then what happens is they go onto a plane, him and the dad, and uh, the bad guys are controlling his plane with the remote controller,
Hmm.
and they're gonna make the plane crash into the Twin Towers.
And so when the 9/11 thing actually happened, and it just when they were filming it, before they filmed it, they had one of the makers of the show got a special permit to get a helicopter and fly it all around the Twin Towers and take all kinds of pictures of the different angles and all the sides and up and down and all around. And then this 9/11 happens, and they've had the episode already had aired and everything. And they, oh my God, they didn't know everything had happened, but they thought they felt responsible. Like maybe somebody watched their episode and they copied or something. And they found out differently. No, they weren't responsible, but it really, they thought, we're just creators. We write, we come up with ideas.
Safi, do you want this review to be an hour long?
Okay, well, so anyway,
I
they
mean,
thought if
reviewing
we
the whole
could come
season.
up with this, then somebody else could come up with it
Yeah.
too.
Anyways, so that was the first episode, and it was terrible the way that, not only that, but they really only focused on Byers. Like Langley and Frohickey, they didn't even really feel like characters in the show.
No, they
Like-
didn't. They made them like they were nothing.
It was basically all about Byers and a stupid father, and it was this stupid story, and it was so stupid I hated it. And I would give that episode like a D minus. Not only that, but they had these really dated hacking scenes
Yeah.
where the characters would be like, okay, it's time to hack now. And so they started just like mashing their fingers all over the computers, and it was very cheesy looking and dated looking. And I thought, like, is this what the series is going to be?
Yeah.
Hacking? Like,
Yeah.
just stupid hacking scenes where they're like, look, I'm hacking.
Yeah, and it was funny too because the computers that's what they were, and how much they changed the screens and.
It was
just
funny
everything.
seeing the computers
Yeah.
and all that, all the
It's
technology.
all we had though. I mean, the technology just evolves and changes constantly. So.
And then the second episode, Safi loved, and I loved as well, because they introduced a new character. Well, let's just rank them. Let's just.
Okay, well, that was the pilot. We called that was number 13. We called it the worst episode.
It was so bad it made us not want to watch the rest.
Right.
So
and
that
we had to force ourselves to finish watching it, and then we were glad because the rest of the show was good. It was like it was almost like the pilot was so disengaged from the rest of the series, and you wondered what happened. So the next one was we're going from the worst to the best, and the next one is Captain Toby.
The Captain Toby Show.
The Captain Toby Show.
And this one, it was a good idea where you have like Langley as a kid. He watched this guy on TV, and he had a show, and it was like this funny kids show. It wasn't a very clever show though, the way that they filmed it. And basically, somebody is using the show to send messages to China. Secret spy messages.
Which is funny because some of the stuff, I mean, it's almost like they were very forward thinking.
And Frohickey says, I think the show's a conduit. He actually says that, and I thought that was funny because when he said that the show was a conduit, I actually thought, oh, it makes sense. And there was a funny moment where Frohickey goes in like this dressing room with the little girl, and he freaks her out and makes her think that he's like a pedophile or something. And she starts screaming at the top of her lungs, and uh, that was really funny.
Yeah, so it was fair.
And then there was the part with Jimmy dressing up like a hot dog in the mall.
And the problem with this hot dog suit, it caused you to become extremely unbalanced and awkward, and you had the propensity to fall.
Go ahead, Safi.
And so when the first hot guy that had the hot dog suit on hurt himself, and so that's how Jimmy was wearing it, because
just stick to what you like. Don't summarize anything.
Well, anyway,
People don't
he
care.
fell, and it was funny. Well, I don't know about that. Next episode is number 11.
It's called Tango and de las Pistoleros.
Pistoleros, I think.
And it's a dancing episode.
Marco didn't like it, and it was
No.
fair. I didn't care for it either. Eve gets she participates in it. It's a tango contest. So basically, did all the characters do the tango? I don't know, but they didn't do it for the contest. They just all showed them at some time or another doing it, and it was just kind of goofy because I was just thinking in reality they only had a week to learn it. And
okay, Safi, stop summarizing.
well, anyway,
Just say what you thought of it.
it was
That's the whole
okay.
point of the video.
It was okay. But the funny thing is, the writers loved this episode.
Oh,
This
yeah,
was like
that's
their
what's funny.
favorite episode because Eve kind of falls for
I fucking hate it.
the guy who she's dancing with, and he's actually the bad guy, one of the bad guys.
Yeah, he's this really boring guy, and you can tell he's not really an actor, he's a dancer, and she falls in love with him, and they have zero chemistry. Like, it's probably one of the worst romances I've ever seen, because I never even thought it was a real romance. I thought she was just playing him.
And she was really good at doing that, playing people.
That's all she
all
did.
the time.
So,
all the time.
I did not like that, and I didn't like too because all of a sudden she's getting this love interest. It's like, yeah, she needs to be with Frohickey, because they had so many back and forths between him and her, and she kisses him in the first episode. It would have been so much better if they were together, in my opinion. I really didn't like that at all. It really pissed me off.
But the writers wanted her to be with Jimmy.
I didn't like that either, because it's like, oh, of course, the two pretty leads have to get together.
Yeah.
Like, they're the two pretty young leads.
So that's an inside thing for the writers. Like I said, the writers love these characters, and they just love doing these episodes.
I did like seeing them all dance, though, in the audition.
Yeah.
Where they all do their little dances, and they do such a terrible job.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh. Okay, the next one is 10. It's Planet of the Frohickeys. And this used
Monkeys.
chimpanzees. And they were filming in Vancouver, in Canada.
And you're going to do more summarizing.
Well, just a little inside thing for
Safi,
this. Chimpanzees don't like working in the cold.
Safi, it's a review.
So it was their hardest episode to do.
Safi, it's a review.
Okay, but I just wanted to say I didn't care for it totally. It was okay, and I liked the chimpanzees, and Marco liked it better than I did.
I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was bad.
No, I'm not saying it was bad. I just didn't care for it. I don't. There's something about it I didn't like.
It wasn't very funny, just like the Cap and Toby show, and
But it was better than the Captain Toby show.
I felt it was a little confusing. Like, it was a little convoluted,
Yeah.
the story, but there were some funny moments and funny ideas, and so I kind of like it.
Okay, the next one is number 9. That's Like Water, for octane. And I guess it's a play on like something about like water for chocolate or whatever that movie is that was on during that time. And
this episode is all about powered cars, and there was just one in existence, and there was the plans for it, and the bad guys wanted to find the plans in the car and destroy it all so that their company wouldn't have any competition. And I thought it was an okay episode. I thought it was pretty good. At the beginning of it, they showed all the characters as kids. And they showed, like, Frohickey as a kid. They showed Byers as a kid. They showed Langley as a kid. And it was kind of like showing all of their motivations as characters as kids. Like, and when I grow up, I want to be a this.
And that was good.
That was really good.
I like that too. They never do stuff like that for characters in a show. Very rarely.
It was funny. It was cool because they're all in like different eras. They're in different decades. So I think Frohickey was in the 60s and something like that. And
yeah, he would be the oldest, I think.
So I thought that was really cool. That was like,
I like that too.
That was a highlight of the season.
Yeah. And then, okay. The next one is number 8, and that's Bond. Jimmy Bond. And basically, this was an episode introducing their character, Jimmy. And he was different from them, but he loved what they did. And he was kind of a jock. He played football, and he was helping them pay for things, if they would help him do something. I don't remember, but...
No, he just wanted to be in their group.
Oh, okay.
Like, that's what was cool, was that, like, he really cared about their cause,
yeah.
And he wanted to help them, and in exchange, he'll just fund their entire operation. Like, wow, he's really cool. Like, and he's a great character.
And he wasn't like they were. He had a... This is why they introduced him and put him with them. They didn't... All of the other 3 were all in agreement with each other. They all had the same goal, the same mission. But this guy...
Safi, you never should have watched that behind-the-scenes video. Because you're just summarizing.
This guy was different, but he was funny. He was kind of like naive.
They can hear the writers say that themselves. They don't need to hear you say that.
Okay,
this video is about your opinion, not other people's opinions.
Okay, well, this was number 8. Okay, the next one is 7, and it is...
Well, and Jimmy Bond, Jimmy Bond, that episode was really funny. It was really funny because they had this joke where Langley is on a computer because he's trying to get a job from the villain. Well, he's pretending to. And he's like, do you want to be a 5-star general? Or do you want to be an army general? And then he starts hacking. And I just thought that was one of the funniest lines ever. You want to be a 5-star general? And he starts hacking and he makes this bad guy, this like henchman, a 5-star army general. That was really funny.
Okay. Alright, the next one is 7. It's Madam, I'm Adam.
Yeah.
And it was very different.
Very different.
And I don't even know. It was this guy suddenly, he thinks he's been abducted by aliens. Because he wakes up in his house and he finds out somebody else is living in it.
He thinks he's in a different universe.
Oh.
He thinks that he switched universes with another version of himself.
Yeah, he's got it all, and it's like everything that he was saying was stuff they had talked about in the X-Files.
Yeah, that was funny.
And every single thing he brought up, they had shown this in an episode. And he even said something about he was leaking this blue fluid or something from all over his body, and he thinks that because he was abducted by aliens and they had injected all this fluid in them or something to do test. And I suggest you watch this behind the scenes because they explain all this.
Oh no!
And I won't say anything else,
God.
but it was really
It was a very
gross.
funny episode. There were
It
some
was
really
hilarious.
funny moments where he would be upset by the image of someone and he would start like attacking Langley, and he like beat Langley up over and over again. And the actor is actually very famous, and he's got glasses and he's bald, and he's also in Californication, and it was really cool seeing him as a guest actor on the show. And I thought that it was a very good episode. It just kind of felt a little different because the episode wasn't focused on the Lone Gunmen as much as it was focused on him.
Yeah.
It was very focused on his story and not them solving his story.
But it was really good, and it was really balanced, and it was really surprising.
Yeah.
I thought there were a lot of surprises, but what I thought was funny was this thing about everything that he thought and complained about were stuff that they had gone over in the X-Files. And it was like they were just running through what the writers had already done for that show and put it into this guy's head. I mean, he thought, oh my God, this has happened to me. They showed an episode of it with the X-Files and so on. And it was just funny because that could happen. I can imagine somebody watching the X-Files and everything they've talked about they think has happened to them. And this guy is supposedly a really big comedian, and that's what everybody enjoyed having him there, and he did a good job. It was funny and different and weird, and so okay. The next one is The Lying Game. That's number 6.
This one is a convoluted plot where it's really convoluted. I'm not even going to try to explain it.
I can't explain it.
It's really weird. But there's a cool thing that happens near the end because Skinner's in it.
Oh,
and the whole
one.
episode is a lot like the one in the X-Files where, remember that one where they get the picture of Skinner killing that guy supposedly in the police parking lot and shooting him?
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot like that episode of the X-Files. But it was actually better than that episode.
Yeah.
And Skinner was really good in this episode, and he's so much better because it feels like on the Lone Gunmen he gets to let loose and they respect him more as a character.
Yeah. And he doesn't play the usual character. He does and he doesn't. Part of it he does play, the serious FBI director who's all about the business and finding out who did what, when, and right now. And the other part was a silly jokester, making faces.
What happened was Jimmy Bond disguised himself as Skinner to infiltrate this operation and kind of get the real Skinner arrested.
Yeah, they thought he was a bad guy, but he wasn't. But they found this out after doing this. What would you call it? Setting him up gone wrong or something.
That last 20 minutes of that episode was just like A+ phenomenal.
It was.
It was really funny.
I'd like to just watch that again.
Yeah, and then at the end he's looking at himself and it's really hilarious. And it was so funny to see him acting like Jimmy Bond and the way that he was like, I want a rum and coke, or no, I want the Mexican version of a rum and coke. I just don't want the regular rum and coke. And it was like he was screwing up their operation. It was really good. Like, that was top tier storytelling.
And if you knew how Skinner was in the X-Files, you'd appreciate it even more.
Yeah, that's what made it even better, was that it improved on his character.
Yeah. All right. The next one is number 5, and it's Maximum Buyers.
Which one was the one with Mulder, though? Because there was like one shitty
That's
episode.
that's Eve.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That was a stupid cameo.
That was only for, I don't know.
It was like a minute long.
I was going to say 60 seconds.
Maximum Buyers was pretty good.
It was.
It was very good, in fact. And in particular, it was good because the actor playing the bad guy in prison that they were trying to help, he was actually the same guy from the bank episode in the X-Files. And I thought it was very strange that they used the same actor, because this is all the same universe, you know? So I thought that was kind of weird. But it was a very good episode.
It was about going to prison. That's all I'm going to say, but it was really good.
Yeah.
That's why we have it a 5, because it was one of their best episodes. So, next one is number 4, and that's all about Eve. And I don't know if I really like it a lot. I don't know if I like it as much as Marco. This is actually the last episode.
What I like is the character in it. I don't really like the episode story a lot. I like seeing the man in black from Dreamland and the X-Files. He comes back and he's the main character,
That's
sort
Chuck.
of. And you think that he's a good guy, and that he has this great back and forth between him and the Lone Gunmen. And he's like the perfect antagonist for them, because they're like goofy and fun and funny, and he's like an establishment figure.
And he's a spy.
And so it kind of reminds me of the principal in Ferris Bueller, and the back and forth he had with Ferris. And so I really, really loved their dynamic. And there's this plot that he does, this elaborate scheme, where he makes them think that he needs their help finding something, and at the end of the episode, he literally just traps them in a secret place, and it's like, uh-oh.
And that's where the show ends.
Yeah.
Which is really weird and sad.
That was really good.
Okay, number 3 is 3 Men and a Smoking Diaper.
You love this one, Safi.
This was actually a really, this is another really, and that's why it's ranked 3, funny episode, because it's like 3 Men and a Baby, but it's a lot more complicated than that.
A lot better than that, too.
A lot better than that, but there's a lot of complications, and it involves these 3 geeks, you know. They're not used to being around children of any type, and they become attached to this baby. But it's not just the typical episode. There's a lot of mysteries and an undercurrent of suspense, and but then there's humor on top of that. It's like a sandwich.
Jimmy has to work at the campaign office for this corrupt politician, and he's like the star of the episode, because you think that he's going to screw it up because he's dumb, and so it kind of like it develops him more, because there's all these moments you expect him to be really stupid, and he surprises you by being really smart, and he ends up making the right choice at the end of the episode, and it's just a really good episode.
It is. It's funny, but it's also really meaningful. Because you think Jimmy, like he said, is kind of a ditz, but really the things that he comes out with, that he says, are very honest and straightforward. Okay.
Yeah, but I will say at the end, it was a little confusing, because they sort of implied that the politician killed someone or something, and at the end of the episode, he just waltzes into the Lone Gunmen's office and waltzes out, and he's like, "Oh, hey guys," and it's like, this is kind of weird. It's like, it just went from one extreme to another.
Yeah.
So,
But it overall was a really good episode.
yeah.
Okay, number 2, we're almost down to the end, is Diagnosis Jimmy.
Yeah.
And I say both 2 and 1 could be interchanged.
Well, not for me.
I think, but they're both really
I guess
good.
you think Diagnosis Jimmy's the best. I think that Ina Kleina Frohickey is the best.
And that's our number 1, by the way.
Yeah.
But right now we're on Diagnosis Jimmy, and this is an episode that's all about Jimmy. And they're on a case, they're spying on some people, and they show these skiing scenes, which I think somebody else did, and a stunt person, and Jimmy ran into a tree and got knocked out and went to the hospital. And he's trying to explain what happened. He doesn't remember, though. He's kind of got amnesia. But he remembers certain things about what he likes to eat, like Pop-Tarts or something. I don't know. It's just kind of goofy. And he's goofy and funny, and it's a really serious, they have something going on, and he's involved because he saw something, or he heard something, and they're trying to find out what that was. And so you find out about him, and Eve is involved, and the nurse thinks they're involved, and there's just all this funny stuff. And we really liked it. It was just really good.
And he builds a model of what happened so that he can try to remember, which was very funny and creative.
And he used pieces of food and things that he had around the
it was
hospital room.
So funny because the nurse was attracted to him. I kind of thought the nurse should have become his love interest. Like, why couldn't she? Like, there was really no point to her liking him other than the fact that she could get him stuff that he wanted.
I don't know. I don't think he wanted to be involved with anybody.
Well,
I think he was having too much fun doing what he was doing. And it was like he was oblivious. Remember, he was like oblivious to her liking him.
It would have been cool, though.
Yeah, I know. It might have been interesting.
But it was funny because she's like, would you like me to give you a sponge bath? And he's like, no, go get me some cotton balls and popsicle sticks. And
she's like, model.
She's like, oh. That was really funny.
Okay, well, our number 1 episode is
Ina Kleina
Frohickey. And it's German for
one small Frohickey.
And Marco took a lot of German. We actually have ancestors on both sides of the family that are German. So it's probably fitting that Marco should have learned German. I wish he would have learned more. Because I never had the opportunity to learn, unless I learned on my own, and the same for his dad.
The story was, there's this German woman in World War II who was famous for poisoning Nazis. And she had a baby, and the son wanted to know if it was really her, because he thought that he found her. And the way that he had to figure out if it was her was to see a birthmark on her rear end. And so that was already funny enough. And so Frohickey, they do like a Mrs. Doubtfire thing where Frohickey is disguised as like a German man. And it's just like this incredible A+++ episode. It's probably one of my favorite television episodes ever made.
Well, they said the staff, or whatever, loved the episode too because he wore about 10 different costume changes.
Yeah, that was cool.
And he wore lederhosen, if you know what that is.
That was funny.
They're little like overalls, but they're shorts, and they're decorated, and you usually dance in them or something, and you wear them at festivals in like the northern part of Germany. I think it's like wherever Bavaria, like that area.
Barbados?
Bavaria, not Barbados. Come on, Marco. But they loved that too, and they loved dressing him up, and he loved dressing up, and he loved working with the lady who played supposedly his mother.
Well, Safi, we're talking about the episode. We're not talking about what they thought of it.
Well, I'm just telling you the
Stop
fact that scenes that he wore all these different costumes. Had multiple costume changes.
There was a hilarious part where he first walks in the house, and he starts, like, she has a skirt on, and he starts pulling on the skirt, and it's, like, extending all the way for, like, 10 feet. And then, there's this woman upstairs, and she says, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I thought I saw a mouse." And then he lets go of it. And it turns out that was the maid, and that wasn't even the target woman. And so then it's a really good story where, like, he actually learns that she's, like, a really good person, and that he probably should... It was like a Better Call Saul thing where they were scamming her, and then you know, maybe they shouldn't have, because she's not like an evil biatch like they thought she would be.
No.
But then there's another twist where it turns out she's not even the one. The woman who lives right next to her is the one. Mm-hmm. But she just so happened to have such a similar story. And there's actually a really good moment, too, where there's all these moments where Frohike thinks he's going to get found out. And, like, there's this part where he takes off his wig so that he can take a bath. And then she says that she wears a wig, too. And that she doesn't care. And so there are a lot of really good moments like that. Like, see, this was an A+ episode. It was a total mix of, like, comedy, drama, suspense, and it was perfect. It was a perfect episode.
And that's what we mean by saying the reason why we liked it so much, because it had such a good balance of different elements. Instead of being so focused on one thing like murder or badness or sadness or just agendas which were fake, and this was really just natural without being forced, and it was funny and it was good, and so but this was hilarious, and it was like, and they used just little things too and it would be funny. They didn't really I don't think they went to a lot of effort. They didn't have to, because they could use simple things to make it funny and just good. And then they had a twist. Then the neighbor lady was really the bad guy, which is what Marco already said. And that, I mean, it was just, it wasn't a monstrous twist where it was elaborate and they had to do all these things. It was really simple. So that's, you know, you have simplicity and what would you call quality, all wrapped up in one. So that was our favorite one. So anyway,
I would say that another thing is that this series reminded me a lot of Peacemaker, if Peacemaker was good. And Jimmy Bond kind of reminded me of The Friend. Like, what was his name? Vigilante or something? The best friend of Peacemaker.
I don't know.
Like, he was always there and he'd just do anything for Peacemaker. And it really reminded me of Peacemaker, though, the way that it was like a parody and it was like a very meta show. The difference is that the Lone Gunmen was written by adults who are they're intelligent, and Peacemaker was written by like a 6-year-old or something. And Eve, you know, we really didn't talk a lot about Eve, but it's really because she just did the same thing every episode. She played along with them. She got something she wanted. She'd help them a little bit. She'd have some funny back and forth. She'd call them idiots. And then she'd leave.
Yep.
She just did the same thing every episode. But still, I really liked all the characters. And I really liked the whole show.
I do too. So, in summary, we had the same food review.
Yeah.
We pretty much agreed on this food review, and we gave it a nice salmon dinner, and it would be like a really good, well-cooked salmon with crispy skin, really good rice, and some nice broccoli with butter.
Because it's refreshing, it's different. You don't really have salmon dinner all the time. It's something that's like you just have it once every 2 weeks or so. Not even that even. Not that even. Maybe like 4 weeks, so like a month, every month.
Well, it depends for us on if we can get sockeye, because sockeye is the best.
It's a special dinner.
At least for us, anyway.
It's a special event, just like this show was special.
Yeah.
And I actually started a petition on change.org. I started a petition to bring back the Lone Gunmen show. And I'm the only one who signed it so far, so I really hope someone else signs it pretty soon.
They still have that, huh? The
Yeah.
petition thing. I haven't heard about that in years.
Oh, it's been very active. Like someone did a
sure.
someone did a petition where they said to recast Amber Turd in Aquaman 2.
Oh, was that from there?
And it has like 4 million signatures.
Yeah, I heard about that. I get asked to sign petitions all the time. Mainly it's political stuff.
Well, those are just irrelevant.
Well, I just don't, because I don't sign them because I don't think it does anything. So, sorry. I don't know about this. This is something different, but these political ones, I won't sign it because I just don't think it do anything, and I think that you might get contacted by the wrong people that you don't want to have anything to do with. So, anyway, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and we welcome you as a new subscriber anytime. You can make. Have you seen this show? Did you know about this series? Did you like it? Would you be interested in watching it? Just as a warning, though, the first episode is not reflective of the quality of the rest of the limited time they were on TV.
Instead of watching the first episode, I would recommend watching both episodes from X-Files, where they're solo episodes. So you have the unusual suspects, and then you have Three of a Kind. And watch those 2 episodes and then go into this series at episode 2. Do not watch episode 1.
Yeah, because it is not reflective of the quality of the show at all. So, in fact, you want to steer clear. You just watched episode 1 and didn't know what they were really like. So, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.